Are you hungry but don't know what to cook? HelloFresh Canada is here to help. Have a whole delicious meal's worth of wholesome ingredients, plus a simple-to-follow recipe, all delivered right to your Canadian home. There are vegetarian options and plans for single people and families, too. I've tried this. It was great. Visit HelloFresh.ca for more information and menu options, and use the promo code CREATIVE50. That's creative with a K, 50, for 50% off your first order. Creative Control is brought to you by FreshBooks, a ridiculously easy-to-use cloud accounting software for small business owners that saves you time and gets you paid faster. FreshBooks is now used by over 10 million people worldwide, and I want you to try it too. For your free 30-day trial, go to freshbooks.com/creative control and enter Creative Control. That's creative with a K, control with a K. In their How Did You Hear About Us section. Stay organized and get paid faster with FreshBooks. Darlene Shrugg is a mighty and captivating rock and roll band from Toronto, Ontario. Comprised of multi-band affiliated drummer Simone T.B., Meg Remy of U.S. Girls, Ice Cream's Carlin Basique and Amanda Christ, and the artist formerly known as Slim Twig, Max Turnbull, Darlene Shrugg just released their astonishing debut record. It's self-titled and available now via Upset the Rhythm Records, and so Simone and Max and I recently got together to have an extensive chat about each and every song on the album. Sponsored by FreshBooks, HelloFresh Canada, Pizza Trocadero, The Bookshelf, Planet Bean Coffee, and Granddad's Donuts, this is Simone and Max of Darlene Shrugg on the 363rd episode of Creative Control with your host, me, Vish Khanna. Simone, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Have you ever been on the show?
No.
But you're like, some of the bands you are in and people you work with have been on the show.
Yeah, you've never asked me before.
Oh, God. Is it going to be like this? You're going to make things awkward?
You asked the question.
It's not that I didn't ask you. It's just, I don't know. People are like,
I'm only teasing you. Yes.
Okay. No,
yeah.
It's nice to have you on the show.
Thank you.
You know I'm a fan of yours.
I know.
I like you. I wanted
You gave me the opportunity to give you a little jab here.
Yeah. No, it's...
You're too lyric-centric. I think that's
yeah.
That might be the problem
Yeah.
with this
That's
show.
not true. I don't think that's true. I'm a word guy. I think I am a word guy. Max, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, again, see? I had back.
I think this is my third time.
Is it your third?
I think so.
Huh. I don't know. But
Did one when you phoned, and actually Simone was with me. We were making music in New Mexico.
Oh yeah.
And then you did another one, and I'm just visualizing where I was when I was talking to you. Yeah, I was at my parents' place, and you were interviewing me on the phone. So actually, this is the first time I've appeared in person to do an interview.
You and I think the first time we met, I was working at CBC and Radio 3, and you came up and we did I think we did an album feature on a Slim Twig record.
Right, so this is maybe the fourth
or fifth time we've probably done a formal thing, yeah. Yeah, you I like. Simone, not so much.
Fair enough.
No, I'm just teasing. I am obviously kidding. It's great to have you here. Congratulations on this Darlene Shrugg record. It's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You feeling all right about it?
Yeah, we've made music together since we were 13 years old, and so that's 16 years, and this is the first album that we've completed. So it's been long in the making, and I think it contains a lot of the strains. It contains some strains for sure.
Definitely contains some
strands of a lot of the things that we've
It's going to be that kind of chat, isn't it?
Oh, man,
so.
you don't even know.
It has a lot of strands of things that we've been working towards for that period of time. So
You two had a band called Tropics at some point, and this was when you were 13, or no?
No. We were first in a sweet new metal band together called Control Alt Delete when we were 13.
That's a good name.
That's what everybody says.
That's what everyone says. Yeah.
That's
a good
definitely
name.
It's a good name, bad band.
Good computer
nice
name.
People though.
Yeah. And so where did you two meet exactly? Was it school?
Junior high school. Yeah.
Yep. We both went to a junior high school that had 70 kids, 35 in grade 7 and 35 in grade 8.
Total?
Yep.
70 kids.
Yeah, it was an alternative
and
school.
Where was this?
In the East End.
In the East End
In
of Toronto.
Toronto. Okay.
And it was called, the name of the school, I think it still exists, is East, and it has a focus on social justice issues. And that's how we met.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And what exactly gravitated you together?
The fact that there was only 33 other kids.
You got to make friends with someone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, Simone had a Corn T-shirt on. I think the first day of school.
This
Yeah,
is
I
why.
did.
This
That's
is
what I
why
wore
you
the
weren't
first
on
day
the
of school.
show. This is why I'm snobby. I didn't think.
Oh well, this was Max's favorite band. That's what he was
Corn.
about
You
to say.
guys are
so
Corn people.
We were
Oh yeah,
Yeah, you know.
we went to see Corn last year
when we got back from New Mexico.
Yeah, a year and a half
Yeah.
ago. Or
Oh,
something.
Yeah.
how was it?
It
Sorry,
was,
I didn't
you
mean to
know,
insult
it was
your
really
corn.
good.
No, it's okay.
We saw Corn and Slipknot, and Corn like blew Slipknot out of the
Slipknot
water.
were awful.
And Slipknot came on, and we're like, this is like macho garbage. But Corn, they're actually a real band, and they are. They're legit. They have like a sound that's unique, and they're heavy. I like Corn.
This keeps happening because you guys are younger than me, and I've talked about this before. People talk to me about how great Blink 182 is, and I say no, it can't be true.
I can agree with you with that.
Oh, that one you're on side.
Yeah, but I think that's the whole point, right? Is that
The
nobody's
next
going to agree on
generation,
everything.
I know.
Nobody's going to agree on everything.
But I actually try to argue back, and I don't
I
have
can see
enough of
that.
a foothold in the Corn.
That's
realm.
why you have a podcast or want to influence
Yeah,
everybody's taste.
It's coming back around. Like, give it 10,
Yeah.
10 more years, and Numero Group is going to be putting out like new
Corn?
metal,
Oh,
just new
Yeah.
metal like new metal in Ohio.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh.
those
No,
kinds
not-
of compilations.
Not to say all of the content will be deserved of, listening, but some
yeah.
of
I
it was
guess
good.
in my
Some
head
of it
it's
was
Limp Bizkit, Corn. They seem to
Yeah.
be
Two different bands.
bedfellas somehow. They seem to do some.
Yeah, but Limp Bizkit are so much more macho. Corn
Yes.
actually don't
Had a
have
sensitive
that
side.
Yeah, for sure.
Very sensitive side.
Well, yeah, there was the whole. We're really going to turn this into a corn podcast now.
Why not?
The
So
Corn
Jonathan
cast.
Davis used to be always taunted and called gay when he was a kid. So he had that huge HIV tattoo on his arm
Right.
as like I don't care, like I'm not homophobic. I'm not gay either, but I don't care.
So
And
there's a
like that's
real-
pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Like for a genre that is considered so macho and male driven and kind of just like definitely homophobic stuff like that. It's like there were some
There's
other
depth there.
opinions. There's a
There's-
little depth to
There's
Corn.
more
Yeah.
depth there
Yeah,
than
yeah.
I'm giving them
Yes,
credit for.
for
Meg
sure.
is also a huge Corn fan, just so
Oh,
you know. So this
okay.
does kind of circle
Okay.
back to the
Yeah, yeah.
band a little bit.
Well, so this is just I've got us off.
You
on
have
the
to
wrong
re-listen
foot.
to the
I've
record now.
insulted
Yeah.
everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which record would you recommend?
Oh, Follow the Leader was
Yeah,
like
I'm a
one of the
Follow the
first
Leader
cassette
guy.
I had of theirs.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think Mega's Life is Peachy, but
she's
I
a bit
think we're
older,
both,
so
yeah, Follow the Leader.
Okay. I will try to listen to. I'm sorry. It's just I had such a knee-jerk reaction to music coming out around that time,
Yeah.
and it seemed like a bleak period.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, potentially it was, but we were 13 years old, and
I mean,
maybe that was,
culturally
like,
bleak.
no, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Potentially
yeah,
it was, but
yeah.
we were 13. If you're 13, you're going to get into something strongly and identify with something strongly.
Right.
And looking back on it, it really. It's not like I'm gonna run home and put on a Corn record, but it's not unlistenable, which is a lot more that can be said about a lot of things.
Did Corn inform the music you started to make?
Yes.
When
well,
you
in
first
that
started?
band,
That's
in
sort
that
of-
band for sure, in
I think-
Control at the Lead.
Yeah, to bring it back to our sort of musical genesis, I think the first band that we were in was very much coming out of that school of Circus Magazine, new metal,
Right.
kind of tough,
Yeah.
angsty
I mean,
stuff.
it's notable that it wasn't very good.
Most of it. was-
That what we were doing.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
your band wasn't
yeah,
very
it was not
good.
very good.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, stepping stones.
So, sir, was that your primary? Like, where did you hear about these bands? Both of you living on the or whatever, going to school in the
Like
east end of Toronto.
Corn and band.
Well, you mentioned Circus Magazine. I don't know that it took a while for those kinds of bands to end up on the radio and have
No,
They were-
that was on Much Music.
right
that
away.
stuff.
Pretty much
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
away. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So you saw them then?
Yeah, my taste in music was still informed by like the video countdown, but I had a sense that I didn't fit comfortably in mass culture. So the videos that seemed most edgy, I felt
Yeah.
that was a sort of display
I see.
of my personality, which I thought of even then as like slightly left of center, probably.
Okay. And you so that was the thing to me that was an extension of mainstream culture at the time.
Of course.
But for you, it seemed left of center.
Yes.
Okay.
But that's, the perspective of a 12 or
It's
13-year-old.
totally, yeah. It's a generation gap, I suppose. Okay, so Control-Delete ends. It sounds like...
then we started Tropics
yeah.
in high school.
High school.
Like 2 years after that, or a year after that.
I guess
or whatever.
grade 9, yeah.
Yeah.
So Control-Delete was like...
14 or something? What were you, 14,
Yeah,
15?
14 in grade 9.
Yeah, okay. So you start Tropics. Is it always just the two of you? Because when I saw Tropics, it was a duo.
It was,
it was always...
The only time we ever played with a third person is we had Amanda play one show with us in 2006.
Amanda?
Yeah, from this band, Amanda Chris.
From this band. Oh, from the current configuration.
Yeah,
okay.
from Darlene Shrugg.
Yeah.
She played like synth with us for one show, but that was it.
That was
like
only
one
because the promoter was like, "Hey, I want a band with keyboards to open for Shoo Shoo. Is there any way you can accommodate
We're like,
keyboards
we can
into
do
your
that.
band?" So you're desperate for gigs.
Right. So you did it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we did it for one show.
So you were playing live when you that's a big show.
We were playing live
Yeah,
before
that
that.
we probably
used
would
to
have
put
been
on-
like 17 or 18.
That
at
was the night of my
time.
high school graduation, so that would have
Okay,
been
so
yeah,
we would have been
17.
Did you miss the ceremony?
Yeah.
For this show.
Yeah, I don't care about like graduation.
How
ceremony.
many awards did you leave on the table there? You must have won.
I'll have to go back to find out.
You
I
must
never
have
know.
won a few awards,
Yeah.
is what I'm saying. Hey, did you go to, is high school, is East the high school as well?
No, junior high school.
No.
Junior high
Yeah.
school. Did you go to the same high school?
No.
Oh, man. So that's a sad aspect of the story.
It's actually not, because I went to Earl Hague, which is an art school. Simone went to an art school as well, Rosedale.
Yeah.
But I met a whole bunch of other kids who did not live in the East End, and then those kids kind of started to trickle into our social set
okay.
and our musical collaborations, and now two
Well,
of the other...
Amanda and Hillary did.
Yeah, they went to my school.
They lived in the East End, though.
That's true. They did live in the
Right.
East End.
Yeah.
But it was from my going to Earl Hague and meeting those guys that, ultimately
I see
developed
what
that we
I
became.
see what you mean. You go to separate high schools, and then you two are the bridge between the two spheres.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
kind of bring those two.
Yeah, we definitely had
Groups
our
together.
own. Even though we didn't go to high school together, we were definitely a large friend group.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how would you describe, I know it evolved, by the end of Tropics, because Tropics did end at some point, right, as an entity?
Mm-hmm.
It did. How would you describe the sound of Tropics towards the end of its existence? I'm fast forwarding to its, where it culminated, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to me, that band was always just the combination of our energies. We were born 2 days apart,
Oh, wow.
and we're both Leos. So that's always how I sort of preface describing our
Yeah.
dynamic.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And there just seemed to be sort of a combustible element to our relationship.
Combustible.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, very fire relationship.
Oh, so
Fiery.
like you don't always see eye to eye kind of thing? Is that what you mean? Or do you mean there was a spark? I can see
Bit of
that,
both. Bit
I
of
can
both.
see that there's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
fire within you that you
Yeah.
share.
I think that
Yeah.
band was sort of the height of a kind of competitive dynamic. So it was
Yeah.
like two people trying to outdo
You're-
one another, and
I
it
get-
sort of
okay.
Yeah.
made for something that was inwardly confrontational, but also evident from the outside. So it was very punky and aggressive, confrontational.
Does the competitive aspect between you manifest itself in the way you approach your instruments?
I think it did at that time.
Definitely.
Because you're
yeah.
both considered, I would say, and I don't mean to, make any of you uncomfortable, but it seems to me that you're both regarded by those who know you as top tier musicians in the Toronto arts community, like really, really hyper proficient at what you do. Like
Oh,
Simone's
that's nice.
your drumming's insane. Like it's so great. and Max, you play all sorts of things, right?
Yeah, Max, you play guitar too, right?
Your guitar is amazing. You're a fantastic.
Your guitar, it looks amazing.
Your
It's an
guitar,
incredible-looking guitar.
your guitar playing,
No,
if you
yeah.
will, is fantastic.
It's gotten a lot better since.
But you also do
Tropics.
other stuff. I mean, your work as a
Yeah,
producer.
no, I think I'm
I
good.
hesitated to get
Yeah.
specific because I think I don't want to shortchange any of the
Yeah.
other stuff you do. I think your production's incredible as
Thank
well.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's more my skill set, and the guitar playing is sort of a necessity.
Guitar, your primary instrument?
Um,
Because you play
yeah,
keys
it is.
and
It is
you play lots of stuff, right?
guitar and keys, but certainly, as far as understanding, relation between notes and things like that, guitar is what I go to.
Okay, so I like I say, I hope I'm just trying to express to you that I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean that's why I wanted you both here, and I think individually you're great. Let's go from the end of Tropics. Is it possible to go from the end of Tropics into Darlene Shrugg? Is that
I mean, it is.
Is that how it worked?
It's definitely. There are songs that we were working on as a duo. I mean, we still write primarily as a duo, but there were songs that we were working on as a duo for Tropics that at the time that it made sense to kind of close one door and open another kind of thing. It definitely carried over a bit, but it is...
See, I don't think of it as there being material that carried over so much as like a desire to still make music together.
Yeah. I honestly feel like there may have been a song or two at first that we were working on before we'd had like the conversation of starting something
It's curious to me that you just said you still write primarily as a pair? Mm-hmm. Musically.
Yeah.
The music.
Yeah, we've continued to try and like arrange songs together, and that is largely like the musical foundation of what we do in this present day band, with everyone else chipping in other skill sets. You know, Meg writes the lyrics and the vocal melodies, and Amanda and Carlin, they provide a lot of energy towards the arrangements and ideas about how we want to flesh things out, sort of beyond just what the riffs may be.
Yeah, we kind of leapfrog there in the narrative because Darlene Shrugg is now a 5-piece band.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the people, and they have their respective projects,
for sure.
Which are,
well, Meg, who does a lot of singing for this band and is the lyricist of the band. She performs as U.S. Girls.
been on the show.
She has.
Meg's been
friend of the show.
Meg was a great guest on the show. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah,
I still get the odd email about that show. I have to say, yeah.
She's an articulate person.
Yeah, and she just I appreciate her spirit, and again, when we talk about musicality, I think her approach to it's fascinating to me that you thought. It seems to me that you handed over the reins to certain aspects of what you two do to Meg, because that's in her skill set is to not only write amazing, vivid lyrics, but to also come up with the melodies and the phrasing. That's really important. And I mean, how did that? I mean, and just for full disclosure, she's your wife, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So is that the entry point, really?
I suppose so. Yeah, she moved up here, and Simone and I had a desire to continue making rock and roll music together. And at the time, I sort of was inclined to keep lyrics that I was writing for the other project that I was doing at the time, which was Slim Twig. And so I just sort of still wanted to sing, but didn't want the responsibility of writing lyrics for another band, basically, was what it started as. And now it's completely shifted into something else because I subsequently retired doing Slim Twig.
When was that? When did you do that?
In 2015.
Was there like an announcement about this?
No.
It just sort of happened.
It was a decision I
quietly.
made.
Oh, that's too bad.
And now it's developed into a thing where Meg is now like sort of the front person of the band at times.
Of Darlene Shrugg.
Yeah, I think she brings that energy live. Part of what's dynamic about the band is I think every person in it could be described as the front person of it, depending on the song or the part of the song or whatever. But what's cool about the band is that the responsibilities completely shifted from what the initial impetus was, while the sort of core of it, which was a desire for Simone and I to continue our rock and roll collaboration, has continued.
Okay.
But it's been really cool to see people take on different roles and to see people to just sort of see people blossom creatively in front of you as far as what they're bringing to the table.
Right.
Doing a lot of the vocal arrangements on this album was an eye opener for me as far as what Carlin and Amanda can do, and
they are together a group called Ice Cream.
That's
which
correct,
we haven't we kind of alluded to, I think.
Yeah.
And they got into this orbit how, Simone?
How they got into the orbit? We were talking about who we'd want to play with, and those two were immediate. We've known them both for a very long time. Same thing since high school.
Oh,
always
did you
had
go to one of you?
They went to Earl Hag. Yeah, they both did.
Right.
Always had a lot of respect for them as musicians. I would say they'd stuck with playing music kind of as long as we had, and had really, both of them in my eyes, had been like constantly working on improving their skill set. And I don't know, there's a kind of people we want to be working with, so it worked out really well.
Is there a Darwinian aspect to being a musician in Toronto? They kept at it. They survived.
I think
totally, absolutely.
Among the early 20 set, there is. You know, if you were in bands in high school, there's going to be a diminishment of the pool of people.
I think it keeps going on.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, I think it forever.
But I think that's one of the places where people drop out.
Yeah, for sure.
potentially.
They feel like they need to get on with their lives. They outgrow it, whatever.
Yeah.
They don't. It's not a hardcore impulse for them.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, who's to speculate on
Yeah.
these hypothetical people we're describing? But I think
Exactly.
it's
Yeah,
true. I do think
Yeah.
it's true that people who keep going, something's driving them to keep going.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, if there's something beyond the sort of social aspect
Yeah.
of being in a
Yeah.
band and playing with other bands, which is very fun.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think-
Because in high school, it's just something to do.
Yeah.
Just
sure.
like it's
Well,
a-
you're looking for all these different things to signal your identity, and
yes,
a band is a great way to do that.
a
and
band is a
it's-
great project.
Yeah.
It's also, I think it. I made the kind of faux joke, I guess, about it being Darwinian, but it does, as you two know, I think being in a band really tests your mettle in terms of what you're mentally capable of, and in terms of and physically capable of. It's not an easy life. So
Yeah, I'll tell you, the drive from Halifax to Toronto feels a lot different the next day when you're 29 as opposed to when you're 19.
thank you for coming in. Yeah, you were
No
just in
problem.
Halifax.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
There's one other person I want to get to because I think we have a loose sense, at least now, of how Darlene Shrugg have configured.
Yeah.
Young Gov. My understanding is Young Gov was pivotal in getting you to record as a group and is, I believe, credited as the executive producer of the record, right?
Yes, the young Gov put up $600 for us
Yeah.
to get in the studio,
Yeah.
and he was.
He found an anonymous. Well, basically, yeah.
He was a cheerleader.
He was a definite cheerleader. He's known Max and I for a long time. He knows kind of our habits in terms of non-completion potentially, and he kind of
He's a procrastination eliminator kind of thing.
I guess so. I don't even know if it's procrastination with us. Like we both come from like no money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
And that is, I mean, it sucks to talk about, but that's also like a huge part of like being able to do anything.
Yep.
And nobody ever really put money into us or behind us. And at this point, he was able to find somebody who would put up some money to record the record and put up a little himself. And so that
okay.
was, without it would have been impossible, or at least very, very different. So that
I think his enthusiasm about the band seeing us live kind of prompted us to get in the studio, and he facilitated that.
Yeah.
And he
had
also
done
had
some
a
crazy
hand.
vocals.
Yeah, he had a hand in.
Oh, he
helping with
sings
some
on
of
it.
The vocal arrangements
the,
and
the high voice of an angel in there. You find it.
He's a ridiculously gifted songwriter and singer, and I wondered if he offered his expertise in that
certainly
realm.
he did. And there's also one other person that should be mentioned as far as the creation of the
right.
record, which is Steve Chawley,
Right.
who is a fabulously talented engineer, mixer, producer, who's done the last Slim Twig record I did in conjunction with Steve.
He just did the No Warning record.
The
Keep
No
It
Warning
Going.
record.
Okay.
He's got a big
The-
background in hardcore and
Yeah.
metal.
Forthcoming U.S. Girls, as well as the last U.S. Girls, some of the
Benjamin
Young Gov stuff.
Stevenson.
A lot of great stuff.
Yeah, he's working on the Ice Cream record
But-
right
It's
now.
part of the family.
Absolutely.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
He's,
He's the dad, it sounds like. He might be the dad of the
You know,
family.
he
Yeah.
might be.
He might be, or like the really cool cousin, like
He-
older cousin, better
Yeah,
influence.
older brother, maybe? Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
I think older brother is fair. Yeah, spent
Yeah.
a lot of time in his basement mixing this album, and he worked on this record probably more than anyone else.
Oh, okay.
So he's a lovely man,
All right.
and you should hire him if you are in a band in Toronto.
Yeah.
Okay. Does he have the
Steve Chawley, the Canadian Tone Ranger. I think that's on Twitter. That's his handle.
the Canadian Tone Ranger,
something
Oh,
like that.
Okay,
So,
Pretty good.
Okay, that's not bad. All right,
Yeah.
we're going to get into the record now, I think, and I wanted to pull up the artwork because I wanted to start there, but I can't find the. There it is. There's the artwork, I believe, for the record. Is that correct?
yes.
Simone, can you describe this for people listening, as this is not a visual podcast?
It is. I can't really describe that. How do you might have you might be able to. describe it
Yeah,
better than me.
somebody. I
Yeah,
mean, I can.
yeah.
It's it seems to be a table.
Yeah, a
like a
table
desk,
with-
like an old-fashioned desk.
Yeah,
maybe?
or like a desk set of drawers with a.
Abnormally shaped chess or checkerboard, and then
Yeah.
it's black and white. It seems to be from the 18th century or something.
Yeah.
It's like a piece of clip art of
Yeah.
a table.
Yeah, sure. And then there's a framed photograph in color of who is that?
That's Amanda.
Yeah, that's Amanda.
That's Mandy Mongrel.
That's
Yeah.
Amanda. Okay,
Yeah.
and she's ripping on a guitar there and blowing
on a bass six, blowing a bubble.
and blowing a bubble. Okay, and
Yeah.
there's some musical notes cascading above. We've
It's-
described the thing. What is this meant to convey, would you
It's
say?
a visual riddle.
It is a visual riddle, yes. Oh, do you want to leave it at that?
Well, I think it's just to tease the mind.
It has teased my mind.
Then it's
To a
done
great
its job.
extent.
Then it's done its
Yeah,
job.
I
That's
am
great.
mystified by it, and it's sort of, I don't know. It seems very much like it should live on the computer, but I can't. Is this on vinyl? Is this gonna be a
Yeah.
big record?
Yes, October 27th.
Yeah, I can't wait to hold this in my hands and just stare at it, because it's mystifying to me. Does this capture any essence of the record? You say it's a riddle.
I think it does. Yeah.
I mean, of the sounds therein.
For sure. There's kind of a nod to a sort of colorful aesthetic, something feminine in it, perhaps. But,
Yes.
mostly just something ambiguous that's sort of stark and colorful and maybe pulls your mind in. It's gonna pull people's minds in different directions depending on the individual.
Bubbles bursting, eh? Sorry, I'm going to work on a master's thesis about this record, and I'm starting here. This is my research, because I wondered about the bubble as well. Okay, that's satisfying to me. People can look at it for themselves and try to puzzle over it the way I have. We're going to get into the songs a little bit, and I want to begin with the first song, which is called Inherit the Wind. Now, Inherit the Wind, I believe it has a history as a play. I believe it has a history as a few different film adaptations. And the play is, I believe, about creationism versus evolution. It's very loaded. Or rather, it's a heavy sort of topic. I have a feeling, based on what I can tell about the song, that it's not really related to that storyline. Can any of you explain that to me, where this title comes from?
It's also an episode of Roseanne, is it not?
Yes, I think Swan's
that's
getting
an
to the heart of
episode.
it.
Yeah.
Of Roseanne.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I believe the song mentions a certain
Yeah.
Darlene as
Yeah.
well.
Yes, Darlene. Well, I assume
Yeah.
Darlene Shrugg was the Darlene in question here.
There's a lot of mystery and
I think-
riddles going on this
yes,
record.
there is. There is. So is there
Yeah.
a particular fascination with Roseanne? I guess we're going to speak on behalf of Meg here a little bit. Is she fascinated by Roseanne?
I think we all are, yeah.
Oh, you all are. As
Yeah.
a sitcom, Roseanne was big.
Yeah, I just rewatched it again the other month.
It's on Netflix, isn't it?
No, I watched it on some other website. I don't know
okay.
if it is on Netflix. Then
I think it
feel like a
was.
sucker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But
Roseanne-
also that the town in Roseanne is like close to, or supposed to be close to where Meg grew up. Is it not?
Where is Roseanne set?
In
Is it set
It's in Illinois.
Is
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
it's
Then
somewhere in
yes.
Illinois.
Then
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
which I think that I mean, again, not to speak for Meg, but I'm pretty sure I've heard her mention that kind of gave her a bit of a closeness to it.
That's fascinating. So the
Yeah.
show just resonated enough for Meg to try to tell some kind of song story about, it seems to me you're saying, Simone, a particular episode even.
Yeah, I think Roseanne has something to do with it. I think of the song sort of as a parable about Meg coming north because she's an American.
Yeah.
And she came north from Illinois. And I think the lyrics make reference to that in some sense.
I think there's a lot to do here with reputation, about particularly young women and how they have to fend off scrutiny from the general public, and I can see that when I think of that show, there was a lot of that. Like the kids were very embarrassed about their working class parents and the perception of them, particularly not Darlene. What's the other? Becky. Becky was like kind of, she had like almost a classist thing happening, and Darlene was like the goth kid or whatever, like the kind of black sheep thing.
Yeah.
And you relate to Darlene, all of you.
Well, yes, yeah.
Does the name come from the character of Darlene? Would you say that the name of the band?
I don't think so.
Not really, no. But I mean,
It could.
it's never bothered me that it makes me think of the character.
I can see like
Yeah.
Darlene.
Yeah.
A Shrugg
Yeah,
really captures the character of Darlene.
yeah.
She
that's
had
true.
this like she carried herself with this kind of
Yeah,
indifference
Yeah,
and
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I just had the word shrug for a long time and really liked it. And
Oh.
Simone and I both liked it.
yeah,
And then Meg kind of collaged Darlene into it.
yeah. And then
And that's-
also like Darlene Love too. Like there are a lot of great Darlenes.
Sure.
There's some
Yeah.
good Darlenes.
Sure, there
Yeah.
are some good Darlenes.
Yeah,
It was 20 years ago today, Meg says at one point,
Mhm.
which reminded me of the song Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Mhm.
Is that a reference to that? You think it's the
Uh,
episode? I think Max and I were emailing about this, and you're like, no, pretty sure it's Roseanne.
I sort of like songs where the band is sort of telling a story
Yeah.
of the band or the genesis of the band somehow.
Oh,
And I sort of think of this song in that respect, sort of in parallel with it being a story about Meg coming north.
Hmm.
And
works for me. I haven't.
it was 20 years
I like
ago
that.
today. Darlene had the chance to say, let them inherit the wind. Let them wonder where I've been. The fool of the family will rise again. Let them inherit the wind. It's amazing. Like, that's amazing.
Yes.
And sort of, it's like the revenge of Darlene.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. I don't have much more to say. It's a rocker. It's a great rock song. Do you want to say anything about the performance?
It's a great rock song. I think you said it yourself. Yeah.
Anything you want to say about the guitar or playing or anything? There's
I love opening the record with the riff.
You're a riff
like-
guy.
Yeah, and when
like
you play
riffs.
this, you always like you slam your foot down really hard. It definitely has this like it's a very announcing.
The riff has sort of
Yeah, it's a very
power over
strong.
me.
Yeah, it's very strong. I love watching you play it.
Fantastic song.
Yeah.
This okay. We're going to talk about several fantastic songs over the course of our time together. So, let's move on to First World Blues. Max, is there a harmonized guitar riff happening in this?
Oh yeah.
Who's doing that? Is it just you?
I sort of think of the division of guitar labor in the band as I'm on the guitar harmonies and Carlin's on the guitar solos.
Oh, is that right?
So most of the harmony stuff are little tidbits that I worked on, but that's counterbalanced by her phenomenal guitar soloing.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a rock
So
song.
that's I
Total
guess
fierce.
the first
Yeah.
guitar harmony of several on the record.
Yeah. There's a number of guitar and allusions. We're going to get to a song that alludes to things that a guitar might do with a certain appliance in a moment. But
Wonder
what
which
is?
one that's gonna
I
be.
wonder which one that's going to be. It's coming up very soon for those keeping track at home. What does the term "first world blues" mean to you, Simone? If anything.
If anything, First World Blues is to me about perspective.
Yep.
And
There was the kind of hashtag "first world problems" there for a while.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got your First World Blues.
Yeah.
Problems are still problems, but there's a bigger picture, maybe.
Max, I think that you and Meg tend to talk about being artists, and you tend to, and what that can be like. I think you're not afraid to relate and push back against people who make certain presumptions about your work and your
Okay.
art. Am I wrong?
I think that's fair to say.
I think I've seen you do this on Twitter. I've seen you kind of question when people are assessing your stuff. There's a couple of things here going on in this song. In the first verse, Meg says, Meg writes rather, "What am I worth? What would you guess I'm worth? I must have a price, and I'm well aware that the better I do, the higher the price." This reminds me of a band or an artist starting out small, and then things external to them happen that elevate them. You know, a song is appreciated by more people than it was initially.
Yeah.
And there's this thing just kind of happens to them, and their lives change. It's often manifests itself in payday. So that's what. And then as I go through this song, it's a lot about artistic worth. But I think I also hear this sense of like almost an acknowledgement of what are people complaining about exactly when they are making music, or when they have the ability to express themselves.
Right.
So I'm confused about it on that level, and I've framed it maybe in a confusing way where I think it's very admirable that the two of you have a sense of being outspoken about your lot in life as choosing to be artists, and what comes your way as a result. But also I think this is like a little like, why am I sort of worried about that?
Right.
Do you have any perspective on that?
I guess that's an interesting reading of it. I hadn't. I think I've read the song a little bit more broadly as being sort of an indictment of the horror of capitalism more broadly than being inside of a band.
I see. Okay.
But I think it's interesting to suggest that even within a creative pursuit, there is actually no escape from the sort of gravity of the economy.
Yes.
And so I think it's apt that you interpreted it within that kind of more narrow framework.
Yeah, I'm well aware that the better I do, the higher the price. Just reminds me of, because I've been on sort of other sides of the music industry where I've been a band and I've been trying to book a band, and you book a band and they're like, great, thanks, and maybe you give them a couple $100 if that's what you made at the door, and then something happens and there's no way they're going to do that again. Yeah, well, you get priced out. Yeah, I think hierarchies are impossible to escape. And
Yes.
We have this notion that being in a band is sort of a way to sort of thumb your nose at those structures. But the longer you do it, the longer you do it, the more you realize that it actually isn't an escape from those problems. You actually create a little infrastructure. Yeah. The better you do. Yeah. And I think that's a weird thing for a rebellious artist to suddenly be like, talk to my manager, talk to my booking agent. I can't deal with you now. Because I've had that too, right? And I don't necessarily begrudge it, but I only begrudge it because so many other artists are like, yeah, no, here you go. Here's an email from me directly. You don't have to talk to anyone else. And yes, I can maybe do that. Then you're like, oh, like, I mean, I've had so many great encounters with people who, despite their hugeness, if you will, are down-to-earth people. And then you have the kind of mid-level people who are like, I can't do that anymore. I know you helped me back in Anyway, that's my weird perspective on this. And trying to treat people well. I don't know, Simone, do you have something to say?
I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think there are a lot of where you're like your perspective, where you're coming from. That is a very valid thing to say, and you reflect on the change and how it affects you. But I also think and know it's also sad because like the structure in place in the music industry is the fact of the fact is if you don't have a booking agent or you don't have a manager that are the people that are gone through, you're going to remain at a level. Yeah. Like you'll never make that next step.
You're not taken seriously.
Like, you can go and play a festival and book it yourself without a booking agent, fill out the same room as another band who has a guarantee much, much larger than yours, but has a booking agent, so it's booked at who won't necessarily fill the room. Sure. Who will get, you know what I mean? Like
I'm not even offended. I'm not offended. I'm not saying this as a,
nor am I. No, I'm just saying I think they're like, I think there is a middle, or there is a external factor that doesn't get acknowledged in that interpretation of it. Yeah. That it's like, you got to play the game to stay in it. Yeah. In a way.
You got to be in it to win it.
And, well, yeah, but also, like, you cannot, but you will forever remain at a bit of a dwindling level.
Well, the arts economy at large sort of reflects society and the fact that there isn't really a middle class, or it's completely eroded. It's like either you are
that's
successful
right. Yes.
And you're rolling in it, or you literally have no resources to pursue your aims.
Whenever I hear... particularly, it seems to be American politicians who invoke this phrase of people having to work multiple jobs to make ends meet. I think of bands all the time.
God.
Yeah, of course.
Everyone is in 6 bands now.
Well, everyone's in 6 bands with a part-time with a job as well,
of course.
Whatever they can do.
I think that's in part because different itches are being scratched by being in all these bands, but I think that there is a part of it too where people are, it's like, well, which one of these is gonna
Yeah.
for sure.
take me to Europe,
Yeah.
you know?
Who has a better smoke and mirrors?
But I think within that, I think musicians like to play.
Of course.
You know,
Of course.
I don't necessarily think it's.
I'm not begrudging anyone. I'm
me
I'm
neither.
involved in like 4 or 5
Sure.
different bands. so
Simone,
it's
you're in how
Yeah.
many bands?
A bunch.
17.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
eighteen.
a lot.
Enough.
Yeah.
Drummer for hire, best one you can find.
You are an amazing, best one
Yeah.
anyone can find. I
Yeah.
agree. Okay. Anything more to say about that song? You feel okay about it? Did we leave it in an okay
well,
place? I don't.
Yeah, I would like to say that Amanda sings that one, and she sings the hell out of it.
Okay.
That's like a performance that is one of my favorite moments on the record,
I
personally.
don't want to
Yeah.
misconstrue First World Blues. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Do you want to say anything more, Max? I can feel something.
No, I'm feeling good about it.
Okay, you feeling
Just that, yeah, Amanda sings that track, and we have a song sung by Carlin coming up here too. And unfortunately, those are the only 2 songs that are not sung by Meg or I, but I think that is something that will shift on
Does
the next
Amanda
album.
sing First World Blues front to back?
She does.
Yeah.
And
Huh.
those guys are all over there with some of the vocal arrangements, but
Yeah.
those are the only 2 tracks where they sing lead.
Lead, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, that's an amazing performance.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we move on now to a song called Wah Wah. Oh, you got a little tattoo that says Wah Wah.
I do.
What's your relationship like with wah wahs? Wah wah pedals, I assume.
Oh man, you fell
Yeah.
hard.
I fell hard. They're the most expressive effect that there is, so it's
It's an ode. This whole song, I think, is an ode to a pedal.
yeah.
Is that right?
Yes, yeah.
I don't think I feel I've known you for a very long time. I've known you very well for a very long time, and when you when you get into something, you're like it becomes part of who you are for sure, and like that's just like part of your personality. You really, really are passionate about the things that you're passionate about, and that changes all the time what those things are, and it's very interesting. But definitely, like I feel like you, like really dove headfirst into the wah wah world.
Yeah.
Can you wah wah for dummies us right now? Because some people will be like, I don't know what a wah wah pedal is.
A wah wah pedal is a effect that you will run the signal of your instrument through, primarily guitar, and it is an expression pedal. So as you press your foot down, it shifts the EQ filter of the guitar signal. So it'll become more shrill sounding as you move your foot,
Right.
which kind of creates a sort of cartoon-like effect of making the guitar appear to sort of talk or
Yeah. Who would have? I mean, who would have been? When was this first kind of in vogue? Who would have made this popular?
I think Hendrix.
Hendrix did it on Voodoo Child. Is that Voodoo Child?
Oh man, I don't know what the first
Yeah, I'm just
track
curious.
would be. So you're actually kind of exposing me
Oh, sorry.
a little bit.
I just think of that one as like, oh, like because it's.
Yeah.
Do you know that song? It's
Of
like
course.
it starts with this processed guitar, if you will, and
Yeah.
I could be wrong. It might not even be on that song, but I always associate a wah wah pedal with that intro, and then as the song gets going. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, great bass players in history are big on wah wah. Wah wah is big for bass players.
Is that
Yeah,
right?
funk music in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, so for people who can spend time poring over the lyrics of this, it's very simple. It's a love letter to the wah wah pedal, and it's also, I think, I asked you to do that explanation because I think you right here, I can't explain the
Yeah.
foot's connection to the brain, and at one point you want to see, then take a look below. It's like it's sort of instructive. Do people come up to you and be like, "Hey, how'd you do that thing with your guitar?"
I think it's sort of wishful.
Oh.
Again, Meg wrote the lyrics inspired
okay.
by my sort of
Okay.
condition of falling in love with the wah wah effect. But
Are you familiar with a song by George Harrison called Wah Wah?
oh yeah,
From All Things Must Pass. Is there any connection there?
no. Other than those songs are sort of duking it out for wah wah supremacy,
I always thought his song was about Paul McCartney.
like wah wah sort of.
Well,
thing, or-
wah wah, but the thing is, what's the lyric? Wah wah, you're giving me a... No, wait, is it Mama, you're giving me a wah wah? I think wah wah was a headache
Oh, okay.
to him, and I think that you made me such a big star. I kind of feel like, maybe I'm wrong, again,
Right.
but I'm pretty sure
You
that
love lyrics, don't you?
I'm a lyric guy, but I also think I saw Wah Wah, and then
Yeah,
even
yeah.
the chorus reminded me, and it has a sonic. I can hear because I've connected it in my brain. I can kind of hear a sonic connection to the Harrison song. Anyway, I don't want to. I'm not prepared to delve into what George Harrison intended there. But was that an influence?
I don't think particularly.
You named
no.
the song the same thing,
I mean, how many times has that happened in history?
just the once.
Just the one
With
time.
this song.
Just
yeah,
the one time. Okay, all right. We're gonna move on to. This is a very fascinating song, "Strawberry Milk."
What's the price of it all? When it does something wrong, following trails of that strawberry milk, and I should have known not to follow it all.
Where did this come from?
The basement apartment that Meg and I were living in.
Oh, so this is, I guess I assumed this was like an ice cream driven song initially, but this is your synthesized stuff?
We needed a ballad for the record. And so I kind of came up with a loose arrangement at home, just using a synthesizer and a DI'd guitar and a drum machine initially. And this song actually is sort of what held the record up because it went through a number of sort of variations and mixes and remixes, and then
Right.
we tracked a bunch of orchestral elements, but kind of interestingly, the structure of it, of having the sort of electronic synthetic fanfare at the head of it, and then a sort of atmospheric middle section that sort of embodies the bulk of the song, and then having a rock outro sort of remained from that early home recording.
Right. And do you have any insight as to where this was coming from Meg's perspective in any way? Because it's some weird, it's haunting. It's very chilling in some ways. It was a red rose confession, having powder, having salt. What does that mean? It scares me. I'm slightly frightened by this.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is some of the finest lyric stuff that Meg has done this song. I'm actually like most proud of this song of almost any song that I've worked on. And part of it is just what the lyrics do to you. It's sort of akin to what the record cover does, I think, which is just sort of...
Do you mean me specifically?
Well, I'm hoping so.
When you say you mean the listener.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the listener.
Yeah.
It's sort of... it stimulates the mind in a way that is sort of abstract on the surface, but I think it has a sort of ambiguous quality where it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
Okay. There's I keep hammering the Beatles nail, but obviously this one. So what have I mentioned? I mentioned Sgt. Pepper. I mentioned George Harrison. Now, this one invokes "Forced to Run Through Strawberry Fields." It almost sounds like a diss. And then there, within the same verse, I noticed that that's the last words. That's the last words I heard. She said. She said. There's a she said reference.
Yeah, that's true.
I
I know I can't speak as much for Carlin and Amanda, but I know that Simone, Meg, and I all have Beatlemania.
Right. So you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
In my detective work here?
It's pretty impressive.
I actually think there's a lot. I mean, the Strawberry Fields thing. I mean, what else could that be?
Yeah. Well, I think that era of the Beatles, a lot of those songs were sort of little mini conceptual art set pieces.
Yes, of course.
I think that's exactly what we were trying to do with this song, which is just take someone on a journey that almost takes on a visual quality, even though, which sounds sort of paradoxical because it's obviously
Yeah.
an audio product.
Psychedelic rock often gets associated with like a cinematic experience for the listener, doesn't it? Like it's this notion of the music is so vivid that you can almost see something, whatever that is, whatever your mind is willing to expand to.
Yes.
So I feel like this song definitely, like, if Q107 in Toronto was smart, they'd be blasting this song every Do they still do Psychedelic Sunday?
They do, but they play
It's-
like taking care of
Yeah,
business.
it's not
What?
the same as
They
it
really
used to be.
taking care of
They have
business?
a pretty broad
Definition,
conception of
yeah.
what psychedelic is. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, this song is gorgeous, and you have every right to be proud of it. Simone, I didn't mean to leave you out of this
No,
conversation.
I don't mind.
Do you have?
I'm used to it.
the first half? I would say if we divide this into parts, not a lot for you to do.
Yeah.
Is that how does this manifest itself live?
Oh, it
doesn't.
hasn't.
Yeah.
You haven't played this one live at all?
No, absolutely not.
Not,
This is like a little mini opera. I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah.
we can pull it off live.
Yeah. I think we got really stoned once and talked about it, but I
Yeah.
think that's all it was, and I think that may be all it will be.
Did you remember the conversation? Oh, you got
No.
you got stoned and talked about what you
May
might do.
Like, would it be cool if we could do this?
Right.
But I
I
don't know.
wouldn't want it to be like press play on the iPod.
Yeah,
Let's get this
exactly.
song on the tracks here.
It'd be like maybe when we're playing Massey Hall,
Yeah.
It'd
we
be
get
cool.
we got the string section out.
It's great. It's wonderful. In the beginning, there was all sin.
Mhm.
What is that?
Well, the
mean?
song's about Eve.
Right. Right. What about Eve?
I would be speculating.
It's all about Eve? Is that what you just said? Did you mean to do that?
No, I didn't mean to do that.
Okay, I think we'll leave it. Does Meg have a particular interest, would you say, in sort of biblical stories, parables?
I think anyone who's like a serious lyricist probably does.
Yeah?
I think that's where it stems from for a lot of folks.
This notion of songwriting is maybe a huge but perfect storytelling exercise. This notion of this ultimate beginning, middle, and end kind of thing. Does that relate? Do you relate to that as a songwriter yourself? Trying to tell a story? I mean, that's what the Bible
Yeah.
kind of stuff is. It's like, here's how, once upon a time, this is literally how things really started. And then there a whole bunch of weird stuff happened. And now we all believe it, or some people believe it
Yeah.
into the fiber of their, every fiber of their being. I just wonder if,
I just see it more as the power of symbols.
yeah,
And when
sure.
you boil symbols down to something sort of essential,
Yeah.
they can have a sort of ambiguous power for people.
As we alluded to earlier, the
Yeah.
first half of the song doesn't have any symbols because Simone's not on it.
Oh,
I went there.
Wow,
Did
that
I
was
get a
good.
rim shot there? No.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to move on to Technicolor Surround.
Sounds of life, they're different for you and I. Your voice to me is red, not white, and your footsteps a shade I can't identify. Oh, I see it now. Fireworks of color, follow sound. Believe me, I know what I see.
I think the song is describing the sensation of synesthesia,
How so?
being able to visualize sound.
Yeah, Technicolor surround sound, right? Is that well? Except no, wait. Yeah, that's what it is. It's a Technicolor was this film innovation where things suddenly seemed amazing and bright and beautiful, and surround sound is supposed to be the sonic equivalent of that, right? So
Well, is it doubling down then?
yeah, it's
Well, this
really
is-
staking a claim on a certain amount of power in terms of sensory
Yeah.
overload.
I think this is sort of making explicit the connection that you're talking about within psych rock,
Yes,
where it's seeking to make an audio experience sort of visual
right.
or present in some other way other than just being aware of it audibly.
Do you did Tropics start out making a kind of psych rock?
I
feel
mean,
like-
maybe without realizing it, potentially.
I think what was psychedelic about it was that we were young kids just pursuing something without a lot of technical facility necessarily, or at least that was where I was coming from. Simone has always been a very technically proficient drummer, but didn't really know what I was doing on the guitar or with the singing or the lyrics, but was doing it anyways. That's kind of more punk than it is psychedelic.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like psychedelic in the sense that the shags are sort of psychedelic.
No, I think, the one aspect of psychedelic is opening your mind to possibilities, if I may be reductive about it. And I
Yeah.
think when you pick up an instrument and just try to generate sounds out of it without a clear path or pattern, what could be, I think there's a connection between punk rock and mind expansion and
Yeah, for sure.
psychedelics.
The songs that we were writing in Tropics were just based purely on how they sounded to us. It wasn't, we didn't have a greater conception of like chord theory or song structural theory, things like this.
It was a lot of you'd make a really cool part, and then I'd try to do something that was better than it.
Yeah.
That was the basis for
it's-
writing relationships.
So it's fascinating that you kind of invoke that competition again, because there's a boastful aspect to this song. The final lyrics are, "Baby, don't be jealous of my Technicolor surround sound." It's just sort of a sense of like, yeah, I know what I'm doing, or whoever the narrator in this song is. Is this an empowering thing for Meg and for you?
Well, I suppose there is sort of like an envy that can crop up where it concerns imaginative people.
Yeah.
I certainly feel that way about certain artists. I'm envious of the way they conceive of the world.
Right.
So perhaps it's encouraging people just to deal with it. Talk to the hand.
Sure.
I see the world in a special way.
Okay. It's another brilliant psych rock song, if I might say.
Thank you.
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah. Okay, we move on to national security, which has a certain amount of, I don't know, it's like, it seems very paranoid lyrically. Max, is this Meg's voice then? Basically lyrical voice
It
here?
is.
But you're the one singing it.
Yes.
Do you relate to what's going on here, per se?
Not particularly. There's a reference to the FBI. So I think this is definitely coming from an American perspective.
Right, Americans,
I
Meg's
do-
American perspective.
Yeah, I do feel that Meg being an American sort of lends a legitimacy to our rock and roll initiative, which is sort of interesting, being that rock and roll is sort of an American art form, primarily. I think she wrote this song after we watched the first season of Homeland.
Oh,
I think that's where
okay.
this is coming from.
I can't help but wonder if you, as songwriters, as artists, are trying to take matters such as those that might be discussed in terms of national security and applying them to the rock and roll paradigm. So,
Right.
like I was saying earlier about where I was trying to get at this first world blues notion, I think that song could be quite universal, and I wondered if there was a universality to national security. You may have to die for national security, and then there's the line here, just don't show you're scared. We live in a very pensive time, and where the people who are in power across the world, in many cases, are
Not very pensive.
They seem rash. It feels like anything could happen. You hear more and more stories of people being subjected to, obviously, police brutality. People are held for no apparent reason. I've heard of stories of Canadians who have been outspoken about the American government being told they can't come in. You have to actually they tell you wipe your phone before you cross the border now.
Yeah.
So that if you've been critical of people in America, that it's not there. That's crazy. That's the most
Scary.
intense and scary thing that we can imagine. So I hear all that in this song.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair reading of it. I think that is what Meg is addressing with this song, but using the sort of crass symbolism of a TV show.
Sure.
But I think, I hope that it has a sort of broader universality that might speak to experiences that are toxic.
Yeah, generally. I
yeah.
mean, not in the life or death, security, freedom things. I mean, it could be office politics. It could be whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, anything you want to say about it musically?
I think this is the first song that we wrote together for this project.
Yeah.
Maybe that's...
Do you remember?
Nope. I was trying to remember because I know the last Technicolor. I was like, oh, I remember when we wrote that. We wrote that in New Mexico because I remember you doing
wrote and tracked it in New Mexico. This is reaching back to the last song, but
You lived in New Mexico for...
we didn't live there, but Simone, Meg, and I took a writing trip there. We've taken 2 writing trips there.
Yeah.
Did you rented a house or something?
Well, we were like house sitting.
Oh, you were house sitting.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah.
And then we, yeah, same thing the next time, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
and is that where we did? Where do we do this one? Do you remember? You remember? I don't know.
this one
So many
was-
songs, you know.
I know.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah.
many bands. It's hard to
Yeah,
keep track. I
yeah.
just wonder.
Yeah. This one's
Technicolor,
special,
Surround, and Strawberry Milk are the only 2 songs that we didn't track in Toronto
Okay.
at Union. Is it Union Sound or Union Studio? I don't know.
Union Sound.
Union Sound, I
So
believe.
this was tracked with the bulk of the other songs at Union.
Okay.
Where did we write? When did we write this?
Early days, whatever it was, 2014.
All right.
Simone, you're a band. You're in many bands that travel.
I'm a band.
You are a band.
Yes.
You are in many bands that travel.
Yes.
Do you feel weird traveling? Do you go to the States much?
Yes.
How do you feel?
I don't love it. I mean, I love the States, but I don't like crossing the border.
It's very strange, isn't it, right now?
Yeah. I mean, we went, actually, the last time we were leaving New Mexico, we were flying out the day of the election, and it was funny. We were going through the airport in Albuquerque, and an attendant working at security actually made a joke. They were like, well, it's a good thing you're getting out now. And that
Wow.
was, like, pretty jarring. That's, like, really stuck with me, for sure. It's definitely a very... a border is a trying thing at any point.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's never been easy.
No,
the
and
Canadian-American border.
Yeah, so the border's trying. The concept of borders is trying. The concept of kind of like North America in general, like the 2 countries, is trying. And that's never really changed, but it's definitely maybe a bit scarier right now, for sure.
Yeah.
Just in general, even traveling around, it feels different. It's less comfortable.
Yeah, I'm not smart enough to break this down. I feel like there's an overarching evilness
Yes.
that is going to create so much. It's creating so much anxiety
Yes.
among people that I think it's.
Yeah, the day after the last American election, and this is interesting, like this is a perspective of a Canadian, but of somebody who does go to the States quite often. Like I was so anxious, I remember waking up in the middle of the night because I was like, I don't want to watch the results. I'm just going to go to sleep. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night and being like, okay, I should check my phone, and checking my phone and being like, okay, that guy won. And just like the whole next day, like just staying in bed, being like, it really hit me in a way that I've always been like pretty critical of world politics and stuff like that, but I've never been made so depressed.
Yeah.
And then it was like there was that scare after he took office. There was that scary few weeks where he kept doing those, like repeals and then signing new things, and it was just like it just felt like tacky, and like it really did feel like you were watching a movie adaptation of 1984, like the presenting the signature and all that stuff, and it was just like this is one of the closest to home, like first times where it's just been like actually really anxiety inducing.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your perspective on it and being open about that. I
Yeah,
mean,
for sure.
I've talked to a lot of people who are going through that, and there's part of that in the song. I think there's something going on, so I appreciate that.
Stop worrying about what to make for dinner and start cooking instead. HelloFresh Canada will send a box of wholesome ingredients plus a simple-to-follow recipe right to your Canadian doorstep. Vegetarians, meat eaters, single people families, there's something for almost everyone. Visit HelloFresh.ca for more info and menu options, and use the promo code CREATIVE50 for 50% off your first order. Creative Control once again acknowledges the support of FreshBooks, a cloud accounting software for small business owners with some truly thoughtful features that you'll love. Try it free for 30 days. Go to freshbooks.com/creative control, and in the How Did You Hear About Us section, enter Creative Control. That's creative with a K and control with a K. Organize your money and get paid faster with FreshBooks.
We're going to move on to a song. Speaking of weird characters and maybe some fakery and some phoniness, Pete Rose Boogie. This is a vitriolic song. Lyrically, I have to say, I know, Simone, you're on my case about getting so involved in the lyrics.
I mean,
But this one, I wrote here, who inspired this diss track? Because it is a diss track, I think.
Pete Rose.
The actual Pete Rose, fake eyelashes, but you can't fake IQ, babe.
So-
Your book is just a cover. There's
I'll
nothing
just
to
stop
discover.
you there.
Okay.
Pete Rose is a cat that lives in New Mexico.
What?
that's right.
What?
Yeah.
Pete, not the baseball player.
No, it's a cat.
Like a little cat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a meow
A
meow?
really
Yeah.
good-looking
Well,
cat
yeah.
who like runs into walls.
Yeah.
So it's
This is a song
very
about a
good-
cat?
Very very good-looking but very unintelligent cat.
Yeah, okay, now I see that.
Yeah.
What? Why? Why a song about a cat? Whose cat? Was it the cat you were house? Like the
Yeah.
house
Yeah,
sitting cat?
there's the dog and some cats, and then 2 dogs and some cats. I will just say sometimes this is better when this is why you don't read into lyrics too much. I feel like I've always listened to a lot of music and I've always loved music, but I've never poured over the lyrics too hard for this exact reason. I never really want to know.
I'm a lyrics person.
I
I'm
know,
a
I
word
respect
person.
that, but I
just-
like having my own interpretation.
No, I know this
Yeah.
will continue to be my interpretation.
Yeah,
I,
good.
I can't help but think in these exercises I'm being led astray sometimes. Like I have a feeling this isn't actually about Pete Rose the cat. It's about someone else. That's my feeling.
I wish this was
Right.
like a reverse interview,
Well-
and you could we could be asking you about
No,
what you think
I'm
about the
kind of. That's
record.
why I'm trying to do it. I'm
I
trying
like
to do it.
it.
I'm trying to tell you where I'm coming from, so
I
that
like it.
it's not just like, "Hey, tell me what you did here." I want to be like, "Here's
like
where
it.
I'm coming from."
I think it's an indictment of the image conscious more largely.
Yes, that's what I
Um,
think. Yeah,
But it was inspired by this one cat down in New Mexico.
a cat.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna let that go. Cool. It's a great. It's a. By the way, another powerful song. Is there anything you want to say about it as a Pete Rose boogie? By the way, why is it a boogie?
I don't know. We're like we're a band that gets down with a few boogies.
You
here
get
and
a
there.
blues on here and a boogie. It's
Yeah.
we like
some-
the boogie woogie.
This is a good exhibit for some guitar harmonies. This track. I'm
yes,
pleased with them.
yes, fantastic actually.
Dennis Pasley on the
sax,
saxophone as
yeah.
well.
Dennis Pasley, Toronto person.
Yeah.
Do I know Dennis Pasley?
He plays with all kinds of people.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I think it's always shifting who he plays
Oh,
with,
I
so
see,
I don't
okay.
want to misrepresent him. But he's a very talented saxophone player.
There will be some people who listen to your record and think, "Oh, that's like some '70s psych rock thing." I mean, good Lord, Max, you've gone through this in almost every iteration of whatever you've done. Some idiot like me, even maybe, will say, "Oh, it's from a certain era. He seems to be conjuring this and that." Are you concerned about this? And I know you're seasoned now, so you're probably used to it. But
Well, I think that for me, the crux of this band is about adopting a sort of energy that is rock and roll. And to me, that means Alice Cooper or Thin Lizzy or Judas Priest or Black Sabbath. And it's like throughout time.
Yeah.
You could going back to the 50s, 60s. And what I like about this band is that we're able to sort of refract all of those energies and different sort of iterations of something that is rock and roll,
yeah,
and sort of refract it through a different prism. Because, thinking about hierarchies within music, a kind of commonality between all those bands that I referenced is a very male
yes,
image and energy. And I think there's something fun about subverting that aspect of it.
right.
I think Simone could probably speak a little bit more directly to that, as I am the sole connection between that sort of masculine thing and rock and roll previously with the brand of rock and roll that we do now.
Yeah, before you say that, Simone, though, is that an intentional configuration decision that was made, do you think, for Darlene Shrugg,
No.
or was it just the fact that you were friends?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just friends and it's
These were the people we wanted to
yeah.
play with.
You don't hear gender. It's like these are the musicians that made the most sense for the project.
Do you deal with this is going to be a dumb question because I think I know the answer. Do you have to deal with a lot of shit?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I hate to say it like that, but it's, of course, like all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not getting better?
No, honestly, no.
It's not getting better.
No, I think there's definitely like people are talking about it more, which I guess you could see it as getting better. But it's like, to me, the fact that I still have this conversation, and I still have so many different conversations. I'm like, it's not. I don't see it as better. Better's not acceptable to me until it's like not a non-issue. Until I don't have to have this conversation. Until it actually doesn't matter, it's not better.
Right. That's fair. I guess it's the bubble syndrome again. I think being a dude in a independent music or arts bubble, I think I'm somewhat shielded from. When I talk to women, young women in particular, about these kinds of things, I'm shocked by it.
I'm also just like very distrusting, as like maybe like it's kind of always been a bit of my personality, and like I'm a little distrusting in a sense of people being like, oh, okay, it's okay, more female fronted bands, this is fine. Like that's the kind of, everybody's like gotta have a lot of dudes I know and people in music are like, gotta have a female fronted band for a show, like that's good. And it's like, it is good, but when it's a calculated decision, it's still frustrating. And it's still like, as like a female instrumentalist and like somebody who plays like something that would not necessarily be defined as the most feminine of instruments, it's like, I don't know, it's a whole different thing and it hasn't gotten any better to me.
Yeah, I guess I only hang my hat on the fact that, like you said, more people are talking about stuff. And it's forcing me to and other people like me to just look at the way we've behaved, I think.
Yeah.
Because
I just find it heartbreaking that even using the word forced, like everybody's forced into talking about it.
Did I say forced?
Yeah.
I didn't mean it.
Like,
Okay.
Yeah. But that's what kind of what I mean. Like even like the way people talk about it, I'm just like, it still feels like
they feel like they have to talk about it.
Yeah, and that to me is upsetting. Kind of.
I think that's fair. Totally. I guess I've been surprised by how people have actually responded to it, for men in particular, on some level. I think, like I say, for me, I just sort of thought I wasn't part of that stuff. And then sometimes I'm like, well, geez, actually, I probably was a bit condescending, or I probably did exert some of my male power, if you will, in certain circumstances. And I think that's good if you're self-aware about that stuff.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that historically, the more people talk about such things, the more change is affected, right?
Again, like I don't think like things are getting worse. And I don't think it's bad, but I'm just not gonna. I can't concede to better because it's not good enough for me.
No, fine.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. Actually, yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate your perspective there. We're gonna move on. Let's move on.
Yeah.
I have your rad guitar rocker. Where's your brother? Who inspired this song? Do you know where this song came from?
No.
You know, blank slate.
I'm going to go with no on this one.
Because you don't want to speak on behalf of Meg?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a personal song?
Yeah.
Very personal song. Okay. So I am struck by this on a band level, I guess, or as a collective product. Never Leave a Brother Behind what are you doing leaving your brother behind? I mean, for me, I hear loyalty and things like that. And I mean, just talking about your dynamic, you two, I mean, you've been friends for such a long time. I gather that loyalty and trust are, I mean, it seems silly to say loyalty and trust must be important to you. But like Simone was just saying, I think when you live in bubbles, you sometimes take the basic things for granted. And like treating people, everyone the same and respectfully and all that sort of stuff. So I guess that's my sense of things. It's just that there seems to be this through line between your work together and then the people you brought in to work with you, of this sense of like, we are bonded and word is bond and we need to work together and we're a unit.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think this band is a reflection of primarily our friendship, the friendship that we've had since we were 13 years old. I think the energy that the two of us are trying to bring to it is a reflection of that dynamic.
Yeah.
So, and it's one that I think we've been upfront about as being something that is fraught at times. And I think there's a sort of anxious energy that is conveyed at times within our collaboration.
Combustible,
yeah. But also one that has been, I don't know, a force for change, at least for me.
Yeah.
And I hope that this record kind of touches on a lot of different styles and ideas for guitar and drum-based music. And that's not to block out the contributions of the other folks in this band. And I think that they would say the same thing.
Yeah.
That the foundation of it is a project that Simone and I started, which was collaborating on music years ago.
Yeah.
I mean,
and what the other folks bring to it is sort of what enhances it or blows it up.
Right.
it's like everything we've ever worked on is, to me, has always started off or been worked out as a musical conversation, whether that's like a rational conversation or an argument. Like, it's always a musical conversation of some sort. And I feel like even continuing now, it's like we start a conversation, and then, you know, we both have our opinions on it, and then we bring in other people to make it a larger conversation.
Yeah, I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like that's how it's always kind of been with us.
Okay.
And in terms of loyalty, for sure. I mean, Max mentioned that we were both Leos, and that's, other than being very feisty, that's definitely a trait that has always been pointed out by those around us with one another.
Loyalty.
Yeah. Even when, like, I think we've, like, really disliked each other, we've always remained extremely loyal to each other. Like, it's like one of those things where it's like, you know, I could be like, you suck, but if somebody else, like, if you were to tell him that he sucked, I would jump over the table and tackle you, you know?
I understand that, and please don't.
Don't you dare.
I
Yeah,
didn't.
so don't say anything about this guy.
I've never said you sucked. I've only said great things. I said nice things. Have you two ever broken up? You say there's tension. You say you've fought and fraught, and there's been some fraught energy. Have you ever been like, no, forget it. I'm done with you. That's it.
I don't think it's ever been a thing where we each felt that we wouldn't resume the collaboration, but I for me anyways, like Tropics, like I felt that we had exhausted it, that we had done everything that we could do as a duo explicitly. And so this band was sort of something that bloomed out of an exhaustion that I had, which is like, you know, you can have a positive association with feeling exhausted by something, but there's also sort of an ending as well.
Yeah, sure.
So I can relate to that feeling of something feeling completed.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, this collaboration has remained something fertile.
Yeah.
And I think the loyalty is reflected in the fact that when we did face a period of exhaustion, we sought to shift the circumstance so that it could continue.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like the music's never hard. You know what I mean? Like, that's never the part that's hard.
I think you have a long. Is it fair to say you have like a sibling dynamic? Is that weird?
No, that's not. That's not
weird.
how I
No.
conceive of
Yeah.
it. But I think that's a fair interpretation.
Well, I want to say that it sounds familial,
Yes.
and that's where I'm going with it.
Yes.
Because that tension, like I have that tension with my sister.
The loyalty that I feel for Simone is one that I feel only for my family members.
Yes, exactly. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's where I would take.
Yeah.
This is not supposed to be a session,
Yeah.
some kind of therapy thing. You know, I'm
Who
just
paid
saying.
you to do this?
It's not an intervention by
Yeah.
any means.
Yeah, you're about 7 years too late on that one, buddy.
I was too busy reading lyrics.
Yeah.
I should have been scheduling sessions. We move on to what I believe is the final song on the record. It's called Freedom Comes in a Plastic Card. Max, earlier you were talking about rock and roll motifs that come up, and this is a big rock song, almost with the spirit of like, I Can't Drive 55 or something by Sammy Hagar. I'm not saying it sounds like it. It's a much better song than that one, if you ask me. But this notion of, you know, let's get on the road, let's go, you know, that kind of Born to Be Wild, maybe. I don't know. Is that where this stems from, you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I started trying to get my license when I was 18 years old, and I got my G 2 weeks ago. So
Oh, congratulations.
thank you very much. That was like, an 11-year process that was very fraught for me at times.
I was at the Ministry of Transport we have here in Canada. I was there the day I turned 16.
Yeah.
I was ready to drive.
Where'd you grow up, though?
Cambridge.
There you go.
But I was also, I don't know. It was before all the graduated. There was nothing like that. You just, they let any idiot drive a car, which is crazy. But yeah, I went and because I just could not, I would pretend books were steering wheels when I was a
that's
kid.
So cute.
Yeah, I was a cute little kid.
Yeah, sounds like it.
And I just I think I thought cars were freedom. I wanted to go to all the good record stores. And 'cause we used to bike to Kitchener and I grew up in Cambridge. There's nothing really there culturally. So we had to go to Kitchener, Waterloo, Toronto, these kinds of places. So I couldn't wait to get a car.
Yeah.
You waited a long time. I mean, you're a Toronto guy, though.
Yeah, I mean, my family didn't have a car until I was maybe 13 or something like that.
Right.
So it wasn't part of the culture of my family, for one thing. But then, when I was 18, I was wanting to go on tour and did go on tour, but just got other people to drive.
Yeah.
So that was sort of a long, drawn-out process. But when I got my G2, which was like 6-7 years ago, I just remember the feeling of like freedom that I had from being able to take a car and do what I wanted, and that freedom was sort of symbolized by the idea of being able to drive to McDonald's and get a milkshake.
Sure. Right.
Basically.
But you talk about getting a shake is what I want. Or not you. Is this a Meg?
Yeah, this is a Meg. But, I was like,
Seems like it might be based on a conversation you two had.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And the plastic card? Is that the license?
Yeah.
All right, I cracked that one. That one was
did it.
simple.
Yeah.
That one was super simple. And that's a classic rock motif.
Yeah.
Beach Boys, whatever. Jan and Dean, the car culture, kind of Bruce Springsteen. I'm just dropping names here.
Yeah.
But that's just something you felt in touch with a little bit in this band.
for sure.
Yeah.
You have the ability to make up your own mind, I think, is one of the lyrics in that song.
There's something about cars throughout the record, though. Like if we go back to Inherit the Wind, I mean, this is the backseat of her past. This notion
It's
of
the
being
American point of view.
That's right.
It's
that's
like completely
right.
removable from American culture.
Because that's the big American invention, really. Like,
Yeah.
there's been lots of innovative American things, but the car.
I mean,
The car,
yeah, and then
jazz,
car
rock and roll,
culture,
all
Yes.
like
those things.
culture in general is like massive.
It's very American, I
Yeah.
think, car culture. I'm going to an electric car show.
Oh yeah,
I really want an fully electric car.
I could
That's
totally
my new.
see you in an electric car.
It's my new dream. Really? What does that even mean? I don't know how to take that.
You
Is
know,
that?
you seem like you care about the world.
I do actually kind
I
of care about the
know, I can
world, and
tell.
I want to. And I come here to Toronto to do things like this.
Yeah.
It's cost me an arm and a leg, and,
Oh,
and I would
no.
have a car that doesn't cost me anything.
Hope it's worth the money.
You get a $14,000 rebate from the Ontario government right now. Well, this current Ontario government.
True.
So I kind of want to jump on it before
That's a smart
something
choice.
happens.
Yeah.
As soon as there's a Tesla van then
Well, this is what I don't
Yeah.
want to plug them, but that's what because I'm
Yeah.
a family man.
Yeah.
So that was holding me back. But I found a sizable electric car. I will tell you. I don't want to plug them here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will tell you
We'll talk
about them
about this
after.
after,
I will
yeah.
tell you about them
Unless
after.
they sponsor the podcast.
They don't at the moment. It's all just food companies and accounting software and whatever else. But anyway, at the
The
moment,
other vitals.
the other vitals. Yeah, we did it. We got through the record. Is there anything else you want to say about this record and this band? What's coming up next? These sorts of things.
We have a release show on November 24th. Thank you. November 24th at the Smiling Buddha in Toronto. But we're also doing a little run around that with our friends in Biblical, who are also celebrating a excellent release,
Yes.
a record called "The City That Always Sleeps," that totally rips as well. And we'll be doing Hamilton, Montreal, Kingston,
Guelph.
Guelph. Thank you. Is that it?
I feel like there's one more.
Maybe one more, but you can find it.
DarleneShrugg.bandcamp.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a good place to go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you mostly and the record is out on what label again?
Upset the Rhythm.
Ooh, that
Ooh,
was
nice
nice.
one.
And it was actually rhythmic. What? Because you had the hand clap at the end too. That was good. What is this label all about?
They're an awesome independent label out of London, England.
Oh.
Good people.
Mm-hmm.
And they sort of just let us do whatever we wanted. They let us spot varnish the cover so that the colorful part of the cover is spot varnish, which Meg was very excited about because she designed the package.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I give them 2 thumbs up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Upset the Rhythm.
Yep.
Yeah.
You have to. I feel like Max, you are born to put out records with people who are outside of this country, and there's part of me that's proud of that, and there's part of me that's very disappointed in this country.
Well, I'm all ears, and I've got new music. So if anyone's listening, they
Okay.
are welcome to get in touch with me.
They should. You're a goddamn genius, if I might say, and I appreciate this conversation very much. Is there a single song from the Darlene Shrugg record that we can go out on right now? Is there one that you would pick?
What do you say, Simone?
I would pick First World Blues. I think that's my favorite song on the record. So
Why is it your favorite song on the record?
it rips.
As a player, though, like
No. I mean, I don't really have a favorite as a player. I love playing all of them, but I don't know. There's something special about that
it
song.
is very big, and it's got a big harmonized
The-
guitar riff.
It does.
Yeah. It's got a
It's all endorsed.
bit
the
of
selection.
everything. It's got a ton of attitude. So
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This is good. This is First World Blues by Darlene Shrugg. Simone, Max, thank you so much for being on this show. I hope this was rewarding in some way for you. It was for me.
good. Well, thanks for having us.
Thanks so much for having us.
it's very nice to have Simone and Max of Darlene Shrugg on the 363rd episode of Creative Control, which is part of the Antica Podcast Network and available on iTunes, Audio Boom, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Overcast, among many other podcast platforms. If you can't find an episode that you're looking for, or you want to learn more about me, or sign up for my regularly scheduled newsletter, please visit vishkhanna.com. You can like Creative Control on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at VishCreative, or follow me at Vishkhanna. You can also listen to a radio show version of Creative Control on Wednesdays at noon Eastern Standard Time around the world at CFRU.ca or on an actual radio at 93.3 FM if you're in or near Guelph. Also, please visit patreon.com/Creative Control and consider making a flexible monthly donation of whatever amount of money you can and want to, just to keep this podcast going. It would be greatly appreciated. Speaking of keeping this podcast going, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Pizza Trocadero, whom you can call for pickup or delivery at 519-829-2444, or check them out at trocaderoguelph.ca. The Bookshelf, an independently owned bookstore, bar, music venue, and movie theater located at 41 Quebec Street in Guelph. Learn more about them at bookshelf.ca. Planet Bean, freshly roasted, fair trade, certified organic coffee. More information about them at planetbeancoffee.com. Granddad's Donuts, located at 574 James Street North in Hamilton, Ontario. Amazing donuts. Visit granddads.ca for more information. And to have a whole meal's worth of ingredients delivered right to your Canadian home, visit hellofresh.ca and use the promo code Creative50 for 50% off your first order. Oh, also FreshBooks, a cloud accounting software for small business owners. Try it free for 30 days. Go to freshbooks.com/Creative Control, and in their How Did You Hear About Us section, enter Creative Control. That's Creative with a K and Control with a K. Otherwise, please continue to download episodes of the show, subscribe to the podcast and all those podcast platforms, and tell your friends to listen to the show if you like the show, because all that helps. It's nice to get the word out about the thing. And that is all. I will talk to you very soon. Goodbye for now.